claiming a new victim every 5 minutes.
Which they say is the deadliest drug threat to our country that we've ever encountered.
Took some steps back and he collapsed.
50 times more powerful than heroin.
He knows he would have been just another statistic in this country's deadly drug overdose epidemic.
4 out of every 10 pills on the streets of Houston are laced with a deadly amount of fentanyl.
They will now stock the anti-overdose medication Narcan in every school in the district.
Out of 100,000 overdoses annually, fentanyl, an extremely potent drug, is responsible for over 2/3 of them. According to the CDC, fentanyl is the #1 cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 45, surpassing suicide, COVID-19, and car accident-related deaths.
Often sold as heroin or other drugs, accidental overdose has become a real threat, the deaths quadrupling since 2010. Why has this substance become so relevant in America today? How can we fight this threat in our society?
Just 2 milligrams of fentanyl can kill, whether swallowed, inhaled, or absorbed through the skin. To appreciate how small an amount of 2 milligrams, a sweetener packet here that you see at your restaurant table is about 1,000 milligrams. 2 milligrams.
So we've really cut down the supply and the ability for those, I guess, legal pills to be trafficked into the black market. Well, as a result, the Mexican drug cartels have stepped in, and that's what they're manufacturing now, except they're manufacturing it in the form of fentanyl.
Problem is who regulates the illegal market and how much fentanyl is actually ending up into these pills. It's not measured, and so the people that are actually obtaining these pills on the streets never know when they could be taking a lethal dose.
Since 2018, synthetic drugs such as fentanyl are the leading drivers of most drug-induced overdose deaths reported in the U.S.
The reason is the propaganda of how they distribute it. Drug dealers are salespeople.
Fentanyl essentially represents a third wave in the nation's ongoing opioid crisis.
In 1960, fentanyl was first synthesized, becoming the most potent opioid in the world at that time. It was approved by the FDA in 1968, but only with droperidol. It went off patent in 1981, but sales increased 1,000% with cases of overdoses beginning to emerge. In the years since, it has risen and fallen in popularity, but has surged once more in recent years, claiming both Prince and Tom Petty, both who were not aware of the contents of the drug they believed they were taking. Is there any way we as a people can prevent this from happening?
Well, first of all, they have to be aware of what the pills look like. They have to be aware of what their effect is, how highly dangerous the drug is, and how a very small, minute amount can kill you. And then they have to do it, and remember, they're the government. Through their vote, through their voice, they have to make sure our federal government does their job, follows the law, and closes down the borders, and holds other countries who bring this stuff to our country accountable.
One of the #1 things that we can do is clean out our medicine cabinets. We don't think about it after we have a surgery, we have a couple oxycodone left, and somebody leaves it in their medicine cabinet. Well, then a curious teenager comes along, they take a couple, and they like how it makes them feel. When that supply is gone, they're forced to then turn to the streets and start buying this drug that they've now become addicted to because it's so easy to become addicted to, and they're now buying it on the streets. Well, they don't know that the pills that they're buying have come from the cartel and are now laced with this illicit drug.
The training to administer Narcan, for instance, you can watch a video, you can do a couple of hours of hands-on training, and it's very easy. These medications work.
Deaths from fentanyl among teenagers more than tripled between 2019 and 2021. As Chair Murray mentioned, many of these teens were not seeking fentanyl.
It's a tragic epidemic. It's killing our young people, and we need to do everything we can to put an end to it.
How can we fight this threat when we don't even know how quickly it is spreading?
The import of fentanyl increased drastically in recent years, Mexican cartels being the drivers of this flood. Between May 23rd and September 8th of 2022, 980 pounds of fentanyl was seized at the Mexican border, equaling about 36 million lethal doses. Most drug trafficking organizations distribute fentanyl by the kilogram, holding the potential to kill 500,000 people. A factor for fentanyl's popularity is the cost. According to the Cascade County Sheriff's Office, fentanyl's street price is about $30 per pill versus $40 for a pill of heroin. How can we limit or even eliminate fentanyl and other drugs coming into our country via Mexican cartels and illicit drug organizations?
Well, if we don't get a handle on the southern border, it's going to keep affecting us with lots of overdoses and deaths. If those numbers continue, and if we still keep seeing the shipments getting larger and larger, because that's what we are seeing, I think we're going to keep seeing more overdoses. We're going to keep seeing more deaths.
You see, addiction doesn't understand politics, doesn't understand income, it doesn't understand race or where someone's from. It's an equal opportunity destroyer.
Just like anything, the war on drugs hasn't been successful. I think we're going to just continue to see a decline in our population as more and more drug increases and overdoses happen. It's going to be another pandemic.
As we've seen, fentanyl is a huge danger to people of all ages, classes, and races. This threat is not going to be neutralized easily.
But introducing new programs, being educated as a community, pouring funding into treatment, and stopping the flow of fentanyl into our country will greatly impact the effects of fentanyl on our society.
With more awareness, we can work together to prevent fentanyl from becoming the world's next pandemic.